Hi everyone, Nisarg here from Deramites. So today I will be talking about Git and GitHub. So you might have known this term Git and GitHub, but you might not be knowing what exactly it is and how it is being used. So today I will be talking about what exactly is Git and GitHub and how it is being used. So what happens that uh, you know when few coders are working in a project. So what essentially happens that, in a project, there are certain files and all the files are being used by all the coders. So previously what used to happen that, if you're making some changes, you have to tell each and every team member that, I have made a change in this particular file. So if somebody else wants to have a change, they can come and they can change it accordingly. And, more or less each and every file has a dependency for each and every developer who is developing the code inside of it. So what essentially used to happen in the early days that there was a problem of synchronization between these developers. So in order to get rid of this sync problem between different developers for creating a certain code, uh, there was something called as version control system which came into the picture. And version control system was one of these system, and we could say the environment kind of that used to put each and everything in this centralized place so that each and every coder or each and every developer who is working on that particular project is synced with each other. So there was something called as centralized version control system, and there is something called as distributed version control system. So if you talk about GitHub or Git as such, it is a distributed version control system. So what I mean by distributed version control system, that basically in centralized, there was a central place where each and every file was created or there of the main application. So, each and every coder has to go over there at the central place and then make the changes. But in the distributed, what happens that you have the copy of the main folder in your local system, each and every one. And if you want, you can work it all offline. And let's say you are traveling on a plane, so of course there is no internet connection. So over there, what you can do is like you can make changes on your local computer system with all those files and everything. And then once you are online, you can push those changes to the centralized system. So this is being called as distributed version control system, and Git is one of the distributed version control system. So how do we work over the Git, and how do we install all these stuff? Let's see. So for that, first you require to have Git bash in your system. So simply you go to Chrome, and Git Windows install. When you see Git Windows install, you'll get http://git-scm.com. You need to go to this particular page, and over here you can download your Git according to the bit size of your Windows. So I have 64, so I will just download this one. And simply once this application is being downloaded, all you require is to put next, and your Git bash will get installed in your system. I have already installed it, so no need to reinstall it. It's very simple. So simply once your Git bash is installed, all you require is your Git bash. And first of all, I have already created one folder, you can see, and I have named it to be my new Git folder. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this folder, create my application files, and then I'll show you that with the help of Git, what things that we can do. And after that, I'll tell you about what exactly is GitHub and how do we push code to the GitHub. So as you could see that it is having a certain address location. So first you go to your Git bash and simply say cd shift and insert to paste whatever URL, I mean the path of the folder. I'll just correct it because this is a Unix based thing, so it requires to be put in proper pathway. So right now I'm over here in my git bash to the current directory, that is my new git folder. Okay. So if you want this folder to become your repository, so what is the repository? So repository is nothing but a folder itself. But when you are talking about Git, we don't call the folder name as folder. We call it as to be a repo or repository. So at the very first, I need to make a configuration in terms of when I'm making it to be a repository, it has to be a unique name and a certain email ID assigned to it. So that, because what happens that in later part, when we are connecting to my GitHub account, these names and email address comes handy. So simply I'll say git config global user dot name. Oops. And then I'll just write my name, Nisar. And similarly, instead of name, I'll simply say email, and I'll put my email ID. And this is important. Okay. So now your name and your email ID has been initialized with this particular repository that we are making. If you want, you can simply check it also. You can simply say global space user dot name. Oops. Git config. I forget to miss this. Sorry. Git config hyphen global user dot name. It's the correct one. So it will tell that it has been configured with which username, Nisarg, and similarly, if you want, you can say email, and it will tell you that which email is configured for this particular Git repository. Okay. Now, this is not yet a repository. We need to make it a repository. So when we are making it a repository, we need to initialize with the git command. So we say git init. It says that initialized empty git repository, and it gave you the path where it has initially done it. Okay. So let's say I'm just creating some random files. I'll just say touch. Touch is a command used for creating files in Unix operating system. So I say, let's take something, index.h. I'll take txt file. Okay, index.txt. So the moment I said touch index.txt, over here you can see a new file has been created. And let me just create one more file, touch. I'll say anything. I'll just give a name. I'll say mohan.txt. Okay. So there is a file called index and mohan. So what essentially will happen that let me just open this file. Okay. And let me write something inside of it. So I'll say this is my first file. And let me open that one as well. And I'll say this is Mohan's file. Okay. Save it. Okay. Save both of them. So I created something and I just save. So index is having, this is my first file, saved it. I'm closing it. And Mohan is having, this is Mohan's file. I saved it and I'm closing it. Coming back to my Git bash. Now, what happens that in a Git repository, a file has certain stages. So let me just give a command call as git status. The moment I said git status, it will tell the status of each and every file present in that particular Git repository. So it says that there is something called as untracked files, index.txt and mohan.txt. Well, what does it mean that? That file is not even recognized by the Git repository, means that file is unknown to it. You need to make sure, you need to say to the Git repository that, these two files belongs to you only. So untracked means that system is not aware. It is not its own file. We have to say the system that this particular two files belongs to you only. So for that, there is a command. It's called as add. So the moment I say git add, and then you require to put file name. Let's say I say index.txt. I press enter. And if I check my git status, it will say that, you see, this new file index.txt has turned out to be green, and this mohan.txt is still an untracked file. What happened? From its untracked section, I transferred the file to my staging section. So there are two sections. One is called untracked and one is called staging. So staging is like that, whatever changes you have made, you put that file into the staging section. And after the staging section, it is ready to get committed. So what is the meaning of commit? The meaning of commit is that whatever changes you have made to the file, now you are sure that, whatever you have done is right, and you commit it. So once you commit it, the changes get saved. And if you have connection over your GitHub account, that is the central account, you can simply push that code to your GitHub account. So for that, the file needs to be committed. So first we have untracked. After untracked, it's staging, and after staging, it is commit. So let me just add this file as well, mohan.txt. So what happens that, let's say you have multiple files and you want all the files to go to the staging area. So one thing that you can do one by one, or we can simply say git add -a. So git add -a is going to add everything. Let me just check the status. So you can see both the files, because previously file was already there in the staging area. Even the mohan.txt has got into the staging area. Now there is something called commit. Git commit. Now, when you are saying git commit, it means whatever files are present in the staging area will get committed, means the changes are going to get saved. So if you want to do both the files, you can simply say git commit -m, that is a flag for message, and you can simply say my first commit. Okay, and it will say that these two has been committed. And simply now when you say git status, you can say, it simply says that you are on a branch master. You're having a master branch. Okay, we'll talk about in a different video that what exactly branches are. And it says that nothing to commit, working tree is clean, means whatever changes has been done now has been committed. Okay, let's say what happened that you have already committed, and let's say this is your file. Okay, Mohan, let me just open it. So Mohan is having this thing written inside of it. Let's say you have opened your file and someone comes, and for some reason you deleted every code that you have written and made a gibberish inside of the Mohan file. And what it did, it saved it, closed it, and shut down your system. So what will happen the next time when you are opening your computer and you will open this Mohan file as such, you'll see that whatever code that you have written, it's not there, but instead it's all gibberish. I mean, now all sort of things that you have done went for a toss, right? But if you are connected with a Git, and I can say that if your project is getting managed by Git, there is something called checkout. So what essentially checkout will do, now if I go back over here and simply say git status, okay, first I'll do git status. What will happen? You will clearly see that some file has been modified. Some file has been modified. Now, the moment you see some file has been modified, you can of course go back to your Mohan and check what has been done. And you see that your original code has been deleted and someone has played with you. Or someone has just changed the code. So in order to track back the things that you have committed, all you require is to say git check out, and then simply the file name. So what essentially this checkout is doing, that a checkout will compare the file with the last commit happened over it. And if it doesn't matches, then it will bring back the last commit happened over it. So if I just say git checkout, so it will just, try to compare the last commit happened with mohan.txt and with the current file. And if it is not same, it will bring back whatever the last committed you have done. So if I simply say git checkout mohan.txt, it says that updated one path from the index. So if you go back to your, I just close it, and if I just reopen it, Mohan, you'll see whatever thing that you have originally written, it will just come back. So with the help of your commit, you are basically making sure that everything is falling back into the places. So even if somebody is trying to play with you, somebody is trying to make your things go wrong or something, you can track back your working. And similarly, there is one more command. It's called as git log. The moment you say git log will tell you about all the commits that you have done. So I have only done one commit. So it will say that the first commit has happened by this particular user, Nisarg Nikhil. That's me. Now, if we talk about GitHub, that what exactly is GitHub? So GitHub is like a centralized place where you can push this particular repository. Now, once that repository is being pushed to a central system, that is GitHub, whatever changes you are making over here will start getting reflected in your GitHub account, which is, of course, a central server account. So how do we use GitHub? So for using GitHub as such, all you require is to go to your github.com. And this is my account. I have already created it. If you are new, you have to create with user ID and password, and it will get created. Once you are into your GitHub account, simply you say a new repository, means you are creating a new central repository. It will ask for a repository name. Simply you can say my GitHub tutorial. Okay. So I'm just giving it a name as my GitHub tutorial. If you are making it public, then everyone can view your GitHub that you have created, and and of course I can choose who are supposed to commit and who are not supposed to commit, but it will become visible to the public. But if you are choosing it to be private, it is only visible by you, and of course I'll let know who else are supposed to commit in this particular GitHub account. And simply you can create a repository. Now, once it is created, all you require is to make sure that this particular URL that you have just created for your central GitHub, it is connected to this particular folder. Okay, so you just copy it, this thing, it is already been done for your main thing that I have said that, first you initialize, you create some file, you commit the file and all. So simply you take this, get the remote add origin and go back over here and simply shift and insert. Okay. So what essentially is happening that, I am trying to connect this particular folder or repository with my central server. Okay. And after that, I'll say git push origin master. So when I'm saying git push origin master, it is going to push this repository over your central server, over your GitHub account, where you have linked your, so this is my URL basically, and it has linked with this particular folder that I have created in my local machine. So when I say git push origin master, it is supposed to do, but let me just have enter. Now I get some error saying that could not read from remote repository. Please make sure you have a correct access rights and repositories. So what happens basically that whenever you are trying to push your local repository over the centralized server, it goes through something called as SSH, secure shell channel. So what happens, SSH is one of the protocol by which the data transfers more securely. So when we talk about Git and GitHub, it manages your data using SSH command itself. So I require to make a SSH key as such. So just tap it over here. Go to your settings. Inside these settings, you have this SSH and GPG key. Now, we have this SSH key. And over here, there is something called generating SSH key. Click it over here. And then you can say generating a new SSH key and adding it to the SSH agent. So there are a few steps that you are supposed to do and you are good to go. So at the very first, if you just come down, it says that open git bash, paste the text below, substituting your GitHub and email address. So simply you copy this, okay, and I'll just try to rename this. So I'll just put my email address that I have configured. So I'll say nikhil@yahoo.com because this is my email ID. Okay, and now you copy it and simply go back to your git bash and shift insert for pasting. Press it. Now it says that generating the key pair enter file in which you have to say the key. I'm okay with this, so I'll simply press enter. Yes, you can overwrite. I can say Y. Enter paraphrase. I will not enter any paraphrase. I'll press enter. Again, I'll press enter. And there you go. So now the next thing is that come back over here. And then you select your eval one. So first you have done that one and simply you can select your eval one. Okay. Simply shift and insert. The agent PID has been created. And the third step is that you simply add your SSH private key to the SSH agent. So simply you copy it, shift insert. So your SSH key has been added to your SSH agent. Now, if you can go back, simply, and adding a new SSH key to your GitHub account. Over here, you can press. If you go down, So this one contains your SSH public key. So I just copied it. I'll just go back to my GitHub, sorry, my Git. And there's a command in Unix called as cat. It means that first I'll paste cat and then space, then this particular file. And it means that show me what is there inside. So when you press enter, this file will get open and whatever thing has been written will get displayed in front of you. Now you can simply copy it here, right click copy, and then you can go back. Simply go back. Over here, new SSH key. Write the title. You can write it as my new SSH key tutorial. So I'm just giving a name it to. Okay. And simply you can just paste it like this and add SSH key. So your new key has been generated. Okay. Now you go over here and simply you can say get push -u. So let me just check the status. Everything is committed. Get status. No branch master, nothing to commit. So simply I can say get push -u origin master. So basically, whatever has been committed in my local repository, now I will push. So you can see previously when I tried to push, it didn't get pushed. It says that some error happened because I was not having the authentication. Once I generated my SSH key and pasted it over here, now I can do it. So if I just go back, and simply over here, if I click and say your repositories, this is my GitHub tutorial that I created. Let me just click it. And you can see this index.txt and mohan.txt has been created over here. So that file that I have created in my local repository has came in my central place. So what will happen now? Now, whatever changes that I am doing in the file in my local system, all I require is to commit and then push whenever I'll do push, it will get replicated over here. So this is the best thing about a distributed version control system, that is GitHub. Okay, thank you.